My name is Rachel Monroe. I am 36 years old, and the $2 lottery ticket my parents gave me as a joke on Thanksgiving won $100 million. My younger sister Lauren got a luxury Caribbean cruise. I got the ticket. Everyone laughed when Dad slid it across the table. Lauren lifted her glossy cruise envelope and grinned. Maybe Rachel will get lucky too. Mom laughed. Dad laughed. I did too. That was easier. Especially because nobody mentioned that I had spent the past year helping my parents pay their bills, while Lauren had contributed nothing. I covered their property taxes when Dad came up short. I paid for a broken water heater. Twice I bought their groceries. I never asked to be repaid. Still, Lauren got the cruise. I got $2. Mom must have noticed something in my face because she touched my arm. It's only a little Thanksgiving fun, Rachel. I nodded and put the ticket in my purse. On the drive home, I kept thinking about something Dad had said while giving Lauren her gift. She deserves it. 3 words, that was all. But they stayed with me. Because if Lauren deserved $8,000 for simply being their daughter, what exactly did they think I deserved after everything I had done for them? I stuck the ticket beneath a magnet on my refrigerator and decided to forget about it. For 22 days, I did. Then one Friday morning, a news report mentioned an unclaimed $100 million jackpot. The winning ticket had been sold near my parents' house. I looked at my refrigerator. My stomach tightened. I pulled down the ticket and opened the lottery website. First number, match. Second, match. Third, match. I stopped breathing. I checked the rest. Every number matched. I checked again. Same result. $100 million. I sat alone at my kitchen table staring at the ticket my family had laughed about. Nobody knew. Not Lauren, not Mom, not Dad. And before I tell you what happened next, if you're enjoying this story so far, please take a second to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It truly helps this channel reach more people who love emotional family stories like these. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in her place? I'm curious to read your thoughts. I had barely started searching for the number of the state lottery office when my phone rang. Mom, I almost answered immediately. Then something stopped me. She never called this early. I picked up. Hi, Mom. She skipped hello. Her voice sounded different, tight, careful. Rachel, she said. Do you remember that lottery ticket Dad gave you on Thanksgiving? I looked down at the winning ticket in my hand. Yes. There was a pause. Then she asked the question that changed everything. Do you still have it? I kept looking at the ticket in my hand. Yes, I said. I still have it. Mom became quiet. Your father saw the news. The winning ticket was sold at Miller's Market. He thinks that's where he bought yours. I already knew that. Have you checked the numbers? Not yet. It was the first lie I had told my mother in years. Then Dad took the phone. Rachel, don't lose that ticket. I won't. And call us as soon as you check it. I ended the call and immediately locked my front door. Nobody was outside. Still, something about their urgency bothered me. For years, my parents had known almost everything about my finances. They knew my salary range, my mortgage payment, even when I received bonuses. That was partly my fault. I had never thought I needed boundaries with my own family. I worked as an operations manager for a medical supply company outside Columbus. I lived carefully, saved regularly, and drove the same Honda I had owned for 12 years. My younger sister Lauren lived differently, and somehow my parents always found a reason why that was acceptable. When Lauren dropped out of college, Dad said she needed time to discover herself. When I worked weekends to finish my degree without debt, Mom said I worried too much about money. When Lauren married Derek, my parents paid most of the wedding expenses. When I bought my townhouse alone, Dad asked why a single woman needed 3 bedrooms. None of it had seemed serious enough to fight about. That was how the imbalance survived. One small excuse at a time. 3 years before that Thanksgiving, Dad's flooring business began struggling. Mom called me first. They needed $4,000 to get through a difficult month. I sent it. Then came overdue property taxes. I helped again. When their water heater failed, I paid $1,400 for the replacement. By Thanksgiving, I had given them more than $18,000. Lauren knew. Once, after I paid for the water heater, she texted me, "You're a lifesaver." Then she sent a heart emoji. She never offered to contribute. 2 months later, she went to Cancun. I said nothing. That silence became a habit. Then Thanksgiving arrived. Lauren opened an envelope containing a Caribbean cruise for her and Derek. Flights included. Nearly $8,000. Dad said they deserve something good after a difficult year. Then he handed me a card. Inside was the lottery ticket. Maybe this will solve all your problems, he had written. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. But standing in my kitchen 22 days later, holding a ticket worth $100 million, that sentence suddenly felt different. I called the state lottery office using the official number from its website. The woman who spoke with me was calm. She explained the basic claim process and advised me to protect the ticket and speak with qualified legal and financial professionals before making decisions. Within 2 hours, the ticket was secured in my bank's safe deposit box. Then I called Denise Carter. Denise was an attorney I knew through work. She handled estate and business matters and had no connection to my family. I showed her photographs of the ticket. She checked them carefully. Who knows you've confirmed the numbers? Nobody. Keep it that way for now. I told her about Thanksgiving, the cruise, the money I had given my parents, and their strange phone call that morning. Denise listened. Then she asked me something simple. If this ticket had lost, would your father be asking for it back? No. There was my answer. By evening, Dad had called twice. Lauren texted next. Mom says you still haven't checked it. Dad is losing his mind. Then another message appeared. Imagine if you're secretly rich now. A minute later came a third. If you win, I expect a better cruise. I put the phone face down. At 7, Dad called again. Did you check it? I've been busy. Rachel, it takes 30 seconds. I'll handle it. Then bring it here. I'll check it for you. No. Silence. What? I'll check my own ticket. Dad's voice changed. Your ticket? Only slightly. But I heard it. Yes, the ticket you gave me. He quickly corrected himself. Of course. That's what I meant. Then he added something that made my stomach tighten. If it won anything significant, don't do anything until we talk as a family. The next morning, Lauren showed up at my house with 2 coffees. I stayed in the doorway. She studied my face. You checked it, didn't you? Why is everyone suddenly obsessed with this ticket? She looked away. Rachel, it's complicated. How? She rubbed the cardboard sleeve around her coffee cup. Dad didn't actually buy that ticket for you. I stared at her. What are you talking about? He bought several tickets for himself that week. Mom realized they didn't have a real Thanksgiving gift for you after spending so much on our cruise. So they took one of Dad's tickets and put it in your card. For a moment, I couldn't speak. My $2 gift had been even more thoughtless than I realized. But now that it was worth $100 million, that detail suddenly mattered very much to them. Lauren lowered her voice. Dad has been looking for the receipt. Why, she didn't answer. I closed the door. Less than an hour later, Dad left me a voicemail. Rachel, we need to clear something up about that ticket. There may have been a misunderstanding about which one we gave you. I forwarded the message to Denise. Her response came almost immediately. Save everything. Sunday night, Mom called. Nobody is trying to take anything from you, she said. I hadn't told her I had won. That was when I knew. They already believed I had. Mom continued. If that happens to be the winning ticket, you need to remember where it came from. I leaned against my kitchen counter. If it lost, would Dad want it back? Silence. Then she said the sentence I had heard in different forms my entire adult life. We're family, Rachel, meaning I was supposed to give. Again. On Monday morning, Denise called me. Your father contacted my office. I sat upright. What? He had found her information after learning I had spoken with an attorney. Dad's email claimed the ticket might have been given to me by mistake. He also attached the receipt from Miller's Market. He thought it proved the ticket had originally belonged to him. For the first time since checking those numbers, I wasn't shocked. I was angry, not loud anger. Something colder. Dad had given me a joke gift because he believed it was worthless. Now he wanted to rewrite Thanksgiving because it wasn't. Denise told me not to contact him. Then she asked whether I had any photographs from dinner. I opened my phone. Lauren with the cruise envelope. Mom beside the turkey. Dad pouring wine. Then I found one. My Thanksgiving card was open beside my plate. The lottery ticket was clearly visible inside. And underneath it, in Dad's handwriting, were the words, "Maybe this will solve all your problems." I sent the original photograph to Denise, but while searching, I found something else. A short video Lauren had recorded at the table and sent to our family group chat that night. I had forgotten about it completely. I pressed play. Dad appeared on screen holding my card. Then I heard his own voice, clear, laughing, and saying exactly what he was giving me. I watched the clip twice. Then I sent it to Denise. She called less than a minute later. "Rachel, don't send this to anyone else." "Why?" "Because your father just put one version of events in writing. And this video proves something very different." The video changed everything. Dad was standing beside me at the Thanksgiving table, holding my card. Lauren had recorded it while everyone opened gifts. Dad pulled out the lottery ticket and laughed. "This one's yours, Rachel. Don't forget us when you hit the jackpot." 17 seconds. That was all Denise needed. She told me to save the original video, the family group chat, Dad's voicemail, and his email claiming the ticket had been given to me by mistake. Then she said something that made my stomach tighten. "Your father knows he gave it to you. He's trying to create a second version of Thanksgiving now that the ticket has value." The next afternoon, Lauren called. "Dad says those tickets belong to him. He gave one to me. He paid for them. He paid for your cruise too." She went silent. Then she said it. "Rachel, we're talking about $100 million. I stopped walking. I had never told Lauren the amount. "How do you know my ticket won?" Another silence. Dad figured it out. "How?" "He kept the receipt." That still didn't explain enough. The receipt proved Dad had purchased the ticket. The video proved he had given it to me. Lauren became defensive. "Why are you acting like we're strangers?" "Because everyone seems to know what's happening with my ticket before I tell them." She hung up. That night I opened my banking records. I wanted facts. Not anger, not assumptions. For 3 years, my parents had asked me for help whenever Dad's flooring business struggled. $4,000 for the business, property taxes, a water heater, Mom's dental bill, groceries, repairs. The total was $19,640. Then I saw a transfer I had almost forgotten. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, Mom had asked for $2,500 because they were supposedly behind on the mortgage. 3 days later, Lauren's cruise had been booked. I called Mom. "Did my November transfer pay the mortgage?" "Of course it did. Can you send me the statement?" "Why?" "Because I want to see it." Her tone changed immediately. "After everything we've done for you, you're auditing us now?" I almost apologized. Then I stopped myself. "Mom, did my money help pay for Lauren's cruise?" She hung up. That answer was enough to make me suspicious. But suspicion wasn't proof. The next morning, Lauren came to my house. She looked tired. "Can I come in?" I let her inside. She stood near the couch without taking off her coat. "Are you really going to keep all the money?" "I haven't even claimed it yet." "But you will." "Yes." She looked stunned by how calmly I said it. Then she began listing what the money could do. Pay off Mom and Dad's house, let Dad retire, clear her mortgage, help her future children. I listened. Finally, I asked one question. "What do I want, Lauren?" She stopped. For the first time, neither of us had an answer. Then I asked about the cruise. "Who paid for it?" "Mom and Dad." "With what money?" "I don't know." I watched her face. Lauren finally sat down. "Mom told me you had been helping them. Did you know how much?" "No." Then she surprised me. "Dad borrowed money from me too." "How much?" $6,000. I stared at her. "When?" "August." Dad had asked me for money the following month. Neither of us knew. We compared messages. He had told Lauren he needed money for a supplier. He told me he needed help with taxes. Different stories, same period. Then Lauren opened the email Dad had sent when asking for her $6,000. The payment instructions were still attached. She frowned. "This doesn't make sense." "What?" "Dad told me the money was for Thompson Flooring Supply. But the account name wasn't Thompson Flooring. It was Monroe Property Holdings, LLC. I had never heard of it. Neither had Lauren. I sent the company name to Denise. She called back 20 minutes later. "Rachel, did your father ever mention owning another company?" "No." "Any investment property?" "No." Monroe Property Holdings had existed for 4 years. Dad was listed as manager. The company owned one property. A condominium near a lake 90 minutes from my parents' house. Lauren searched the address. Photographs appeared. Modern kitchen, large windows, balcony facing the water. Then Lauren froze. I've seen this place. Where? Mom showed me a picture last summer. She said she and Dad were staying at a friend's lake house. We looked at each other. It wasn't a friend's house. Dad's company owned it. A company neither of us knew existed. Purchased during the same years our parents repeatedly told us they were struggling. I felt something shift inside me. The cruise no longer looked like the biggest betrayal, neither did the lottery ticket. They were pieces of something larger. Denise told us not to jump to conclusions, so we didn't. We kept looking. Lauren searched her old messages. I searched mine. Then she found another payment request from Dad. $5,000. He had told her it was for business insurance. The money had gone to the same company, Monroe Property Holdings. Lauren stared at the screen. Rachel, what if Dad used our money to buy that condo? I didn't answer. Because my phone had started ringing. Dad. I let it ring. Then Mom. Then Dad again. Finally a voicemail arrived. Rachel, stop digging into things that have nothing to do with you. This is getting out of control. Call me before you make a mistake you can't undo. I played it for Lauren. She looked pale. He knows, yes. But I didn't understand how. Only 3 people knew we had found the company. Lauren, me, Denise. Then Lauren's phone buzzed. A message from Mom. Your father knows you're with Rachel. Come home, now. Lauren stared at me. I didn't tell them I was here. Neither had I. That meant someone else had. Or Dad was tracking something we hadn't considered. Before we could decide what to do, another message arrived. This one from Dad. He attached a photograph. It showed a folder sitting on his desk. Across the top was my full name. Below it were printed copies of bank transfers I had made to my parents over the last 3 years. Every payment, every date, every amount. Then Dad wrote one sentence. You want to talk about money, Rachel? Let's talk about what those payments were really for. I stared at Dad's message for a long time. You want to talk about money, Rachel? Let's talk about what those payments were really for. Lauren read it twice. What does that mean? I didn't know. But for the first time, Dad sounded less afraid of losing the lottery money than of what we might discover. I forwarded everything to Denise. She called immediately. Do not go to your parents' house alone. I'm not afraid of my father. This isn't about being afraid. It's about controlling the conversation. She told me to ask Dad to explain himself in writing, so I did. What were my payments really for? His answer came 5 minutes later. Family obligations. Nothing else. That phrase made me angry. Not because it explained anything, because it explained everything. For years, Dad had treated my money as something the family was entitled to. I called him. Lauren stayed beside me. Dad answered immediately. Finally. What are those bank transfers, Dad? You know exactly what they are. No. I know what you told me they were. He went quiet. I continued. You said property taxes, repairs, mortgage payments, business emergencies, all family expenses. Was my money used for the lake condo? Another silence. Then Dad laughed once. You're letting that lawyer poison you against your own parents. Answer the question. His voice hardened. I don't have to explain every financial decision I make to my daughter. You do when you ask your daughter to finance them. Lauren closed her eyes. Dad heard her breathing. She's there, isn't she? Yes, Lauren said. He swore under his breath. Then the truth finally started coming out. The condo had been an investment. Dad bought it through Monroe Property Holdings after a business friend convinced him property values around the lake would rise. He put down part of the money himself. The rest came from loans. Then his flooring business slowed. Payments became difficult. So when he asked us for money, some of it went toward keeping the condo. I felt strangely calm. How much of mine? Dad avoided the question. How much? He finally admitted he didn't know exactly. That was a lie. He kept records. The photograph of my transfers proved it. Lauren spoke next. You told me my $6,000 was for a supplier. Dad's voice softened. I was trying to protect the family. From what? Losing everything. But the lake condo wasn't everything. It was an investment neither of us knew existed. Dad had borrowed money from both daughters to protect an asset he had hidden from us. Mom knew. That hurt differently. I asked to speak with her. Dad resisted. Then Mom came onto the phone. Rachel, your father made mistakes. Did you know about the condo? Yes. Did you know he was asking me for money? Yes. Did you know what he was telling me? Silence. Mom. Yes. One word. That was worse than any argument. For years, I had imagined Mom as the person caught between Dad and me. She wasn't. She had helped maintain the story. Why didn't you tell me? Because your father was embarrassed. So you let me believe you couldn't pay the mortgage. We were under pressure. You took $2,500 from me before Thanksgiving. Did that money go toward Lauren's cruise? Mom began crying. I waited. Eventually, she answered. Part of it. Lauren stood up so fast the coffee table moved. Mom, you told me that cruise came from your savings. We intended to replace the money. With what? Neither parent answered. The room around me felt completely still. Then Dad returned to the phone. This is exactly why money destroys families. I almost laughed. The lottery money hadn't done any of this. It had exposed it. Dad continued. If you claim that jackpot and keep all of it, don't pretend you're any better than us. There it was. The real pressure. Not ownership anymore. Guilt. I asked him what he believed would be fair. His answer came immediately. $25 million for him and Mom. $25 million for Lauren. The rest for me. Lauren stared at the phone. You already decided my share? Dad sounded irritated. I'm trying to keep this family together. With Rachel's money, I looked at my sister. That was the first time she had said it. Rachel's money. Dad heard it too. So now you're taking her side? Lauren shook her head even though he couldn't see her. There shouldn't be sides. Dad didn't agree. He started listing everything he and Mom had done for us growing up. School clothes, vacations, Christmases, our first cars. Ordinary things parents do for children became debts he expected us to repay with interest. I listened until he finished. Then I asked one question. If Lauren's cruise ticket had somehow become worth $100 million, would you demand half of it? Dad didn't answer. I already knew why. Lauren had always been allowed to receive. I had always been expected to return. I ended the call. For the next week, I did nothing dramatic. That was probably what frustrated my parents most. I didn't argue online. I didn't tell extended family. I didn't threaten anyone. I followed Denise's advice. I documented everything. The Thanksgiving video, Dad's card, his emails, his voicemails, the bank transfers, messages explaining what each transfer had supposedly been for. Lauren gave Denise copies of her records too. Then Dad made his biggest mistake. He contacted the lottery commission directly. He claimed the winning ticket was disputed property. He said he had never intended to transfer ownership permanently. Denise called me the moment she learned. Is that bad? For him, probably. She explained that Dad had now committed himself to a specific version of events. A version contradicted by the Thanksgiving video, the card, and multiple witnesses. But the claim could still create delays. That was when I stopped thinking like the daughter trying to keep everyone comfortable. I started thinking like someone protecting her future. Denise arranged a formal meeting. My parents arrived with an attorney. Lauren came with me. Dad looked shocked when he saw her sitting on my side of the table. Nobody raised their voice. That somehow made everything sharper. Dad's attorney argued that the ticket had originally been purchased by Dad and that the extraordinary value created questions about intent. Denise played the Thanksgiving video. Dad's own voice filled the conference room. This one's yours, Rachel. Don't forget us when you hit the jackpot. Then Denise placed the card on the table. Maybe this will solve all your problems. Dad's attorney stopped speaking. Denise asked Dad whether anyone had forced him to give me the ticket. No. Whether he had asked for it back before the winning numbers were announced. No. Whether he would have demanded the ticket back if it had lost. Dad looked at me. Then he said no. That was the moment the fight over ownership effectively ended. But I wasn't finished. I placed a folder on the table. Inside were copies of the transfers Lauren and I had made. Mom's face changed. Dad's did not. I told them I wasn't asking for repayment. Dad looked relieved too quickly. Then I continued. But I will never give either of you another dollar based on an emergency I cannot verify. Mom started crying. I kept going. I will not pay off the lake condo. I will not cover Dad's business debts. And I will not divide my lottery winnings according to a plan made without me. Dad leaned forward. So that's it? No, I looked at Lauren. She nodded. We had agreed on this before the meeting. The cruise had been purchased partly with money my parents obtained from me under false pretenses. Lauren had already canceled the trip. Dad stared at her. You did what? She slid the cancellation confirmation across the table. Most of the money was refundable. Lauren had instructed the travel agency to return the refund to my parents. Not to me, not to herself. She wanted no part of it. Dad looked betrayed. But Lauren wasn't finished. I'm also done lending money until you show us the real financial situation. Mom whispered that we were abandoning them. I shook my head. No. We're refusing to finance secrets. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then I turned to my parents. What would you have done in my place? Would you hand over millions simply because the people demanding it were family? Even after learning they had lied about why they needed your money, Dad looked away. He had no answer. Neither did Mom. The meeting ended with a written agreement. Dad withdrew his challenge to the ticket. In return, I agreed not to pursue repayment of the money I had previously given them. Denise made sure the language was precise. No future claims, no shared ownership, no misunderstanding. The ticket was mine. 2 weeks later, I completed the claim process. After taxes and professional planning, the amount I would actually control was far less than the headline number. It was still enough to change my life forever. I didn't buy a mansion. I didn't quit my job the next morning. I paid off my mortgage. I replaced my Honda. I created a long-term investment plan. And I set aside money for charitable giving, quietly. Then I did one thing for Lauren. Not millions. Not a blank check. I offered to pay for a certified financial planner to help her and Derek build their own future without depending on our parents. She accepted. For the first time in years, our relationship began to feel like one between sisters instead of competitors. My parents reacted differently. Dad stopped calling. Mom sent long messages about forgiveness. I read them. I didn't answer most of them. Then, 6 weeks after I claimed the prize, Denise called me late in the afternoon. Her voice was unusually serious. Rachel, your father has another problem. What now? The lake condo. My stomach tightened. Dad had stopped making payments. The lender had started foreclosure proceedings against Monroe Property Holdings. I closed my eyes. That was sad. But it wasn't my debt. Then Denise said something else. Something I wasn't prepared for. There was a second loan tied to the condo. And according to the documents the lender had provided, my name appeared on paperwork connected to it. I sat upright. What do you mean, my name? Denise paused. I mean your father may have used more than your money. He may have used your identity. For several seconds, I couldn't speak. My identity? Denise told me not to contact Dad. She had already requested copies of the loan documents connected to Monroe Property Holdings. When they arrived 2 days later, I understood why she had sounded so serious. My name appeared as a guarantor on a $78,000 loan. My old address was listed. So was an outdated copy of my driver's license. The signature looked like mine. It wasn't. I felt sick. Years earlier, Dad had helped me refinance my first car. I had given him copies of several documents because he knew the loan officer. Apparently, he had kept them. Denise was careful. We don't assume who signed anything until the lender investigates. I nodded. Facts first. That had become my rule. The lender opened a fraud review. Dad called the same evening. I didn't answer. Then Mom called. Please talk to your father. I listened without speaking. She continued. He was desperate. The business was failing. He thought the property would recover and everything would work itself out. Did you know about the loan? Mom started crying. That was my answer. Did you know my name was on it? Yes. Something inside me went completely still. Not shattered. Finished. For years I had wondered whether I was too sensitive, whether I expected too much, whether keeping peace was simply part of being the dependable daughter. Now there was nothing left to interpret. They had crossed a line. I told Mom all future communication about the loan would go through Denise. Rachel, please. Your father could get into serious trouble. I looked at the Thanksgiving card, still sitting inside a folder on my desk. Maybe this will solve all your problems. For once, I understood that Dad's problems were not mine to solve. I ended the call. The investigation took several weeks. The lender confirmed the signature had not been notarized in my presence. Their internal records also showed the loan application had been submitted through an outside broker Dad knew through his business. I provided handwriting samples and proof that I had been working in another city on the day the documents claimed I signed them. The lender removed me from the obligation. Then they pursued Dad directly. I didn't ask Denise to destroy him. I didn't need revenge. I wanted my name separated from his debt. That was enough. Dad eventually admitted he had signed the paperwork because he believed he would refinance the condo before anyone discovered it. He called it temporary. That word almost made me laugh. So many betrayals begin by calling themselves temporary. The lake property was sold. The proceeds covered part of the debt. Dad sold equipment from his flooring business to settle more of what he owed. The business survived, but barely. He didn't retire. He didn't become wealthy. He simply had to live with the financial decisions he had spent years hiding from everyone else. Mom sold several expensive things they had bought during better years. Then they moved from their large house into a smaller townhouse. I did not pay for the move. That was harder than it sounds. The old version of me would have sent money before they asked. I would have told myself I was helping Mom. I would have found some reason why Dad's choices shouldn't affect her. Then I remembered one word. Yes, she had known. Boundaries felt cruel at first because I had spent years confusing sacrifice with love. Eventually, they began to feel like peace. Lauren changed too, not overnight. There were uncomfortable conversations between us. She admitted that being the favorite had benefited her, and that she had often ignored things, because questioning them might have meant losing those benefits. I admitted something too. I had resented her when much of my anger actually belonged with our parents. Neither of us came out innocent. That helped. Real relationships became easier once we stopped pretending one of us had to be the good daughter. Lauren and Derek canceled the cruise permanently. Months later, they paid for a short vacation themselves. She sent me one photograph, nothing luxurious, just the two of them sitting beside a hotel pool. Underneath, she wrote, "Paid for by us." I smiled when I saw it. I never gave Lauren $25 million. She never asked again. I did help her 1 year later when she and Derek bought their first home. Not with the down payment, with something more useful. A financial planner helped them understand what they could actually afford. They chose a smaller house. Lauren complained about the kitchen for exactly 3 weeks. Then she painted it herself. I kept working for almost a year after winning. People found that strange once the news became public. But I needed time to understand who I was when money was no longer the emergency controlling every decision. Eventually, I left my corporate job and created a small foundation that supported women rebuilding their finances after divorce, caregiving, or family debt. I didn't put my name on the building. There wasn't even a building. Just a careful program managed by professionals who knew far more than I did. For once, money was helping without buying loyalty. That mattered to me. My relationship with my parents remained complicated. Dad didn't speak to me for almost 10 months. Then a birthday card arrived. No apology. Just 3 handwritten sentences. I was wrong. I thought I could fix everything before anyone knew. "I am sorry for what I did to you. I read it many times. Then I put it away." Forgiveness, I learned, is not the same thing as restoring access. I eventually agreed to meet my parents for lunch. Public place. No money conversations. No requests. Those were my conditions. Dad looked older. Mom looked nervous. Nobody mentioned the jackpot. For 20 minutes, we talked about ordinary things. Then Dad said he understood if I never trusted him with money again. I corrected him. It wasn't money I didn't trust him with. It was me. He lowered his eyes. That was the first time I think he truly understood the damage. We did not hug and magically become the family we should have been. Life rarely gives you endings that neat. We built something smaller, careful, limited, real. I stopped measuring love by how much discomfort I was willing to absorb. They stopped calling me when a bill arrived. And when they occasionally slipped into old habits, I said no. Sometimes with an explanation, sometimes without one. The strangest part of winning $100 million was how little the money itself mattered in the end. Yes, it changed my house, my work, my future. But the biggest change began before I spent $1. It happened when everyone around me looked at that ticket and decided my good fortune belonged to them. For most of my life, I would have believed them. I would have divided it, apologized, explained, tried to make everyone happy. Instead, I finally asked myself a question I should have asked years earlier. What do I owe myself? The answer wasn't $100 million. It was honesty, safety, choice, the right to say no without feeling guilty afterward. 2 years after that Thanksgiving, I found the original card while reorganizing my office. Maybe this will solve all your problems. I sat there smiling at Dad's handwriting. The funny thing was, the ticket hadn't solved my problems, it revealed them, and that turned out to be far more valuable. That Thanksgiving, my sister received a cruise. I received a $2 joke. For years, I probably would have said Lauren got the better gift. Now I know she didn't. Because inside that cheap card was the moment that finally forced me to see my family clearly. I didn't win because I became rich. I won because when everyone reached for what was mine, I finally stopped handing it over. Thank you for staying with me until the end of my story. If it touched your heart, please subscribe, because I share a brand new family story here every single day. And if you're not ready to leave yet, open the next story on your screen. I have a feeling it will stay with you just as long. A pro.